Okay, we've only been on for a year, or over a year, and my husband's only been for, what, almost a year?
A week or so.
Oh, liar. All I know is we can't seem to get the mics right. I'm either talking when it's off, or you hear me when it's on. Okay, that seems like it should be right, correct? Well, not really when... Oh, you're supposed to be hearing the intro. Anyway, we will learn these little learning curves, and they're great. So, if you have questions, you feel free to call in. It's 914-338-1346. I'm going to take my first caller, and then we'll go from there. Area code 941, you're on the air with Brenda and Scott. Hello.
Hi there. How are you?
Good.
And a little bit technically challenged this evening.
Yeah,
Yes.
a lot.
That's okay.
Well, I didn't know somebody left the mic on, so.
We're no blaming this.
No, that's right. No blame.
So how can we help you?
Well, I would like to send a little reading, if you can, with perhaps emphasis towards love.
Okay. I was going to say, I feel your sadness, but I'm going to tell you that you're part of group consciousness, just like I am, and the energy that is on the planet right now is all about pain and suffering, and about semantics, and about looking at somebody and saying, "Oh my God, they just took it personal," and yet you took it personal. There's all these different emotions that are running all over the planet, and you seem to be open to really being affected by it. Because it looks like you were a happy person, and out of the blue it just felt like you melted into a sad person. Does that make sense?
Perhaps a little bit.
Okay. And again, we're so used to it because we do it every single day in and day out, every single day, that we may not be aware of it. So, as far as giving a general reading about the love life, well, we're just going to see what happens here. So, they're saying that, where is the passion? Where did the passion go? One of the things is putting yourself out there. Let me ask you, when you're sitting around people, do you feel like you're closed down? Where your, how do we want to put it, your body kind of folds in, your hands are on your laps, your palms are not seen, your ankles are crossed. Do you feel like you're slouching or just closing off?
Wow.
Because we have 10,000 gestures we give somebody less than a minute. Less than it is, then you snap your fingers. And sometimes when you put yourself out there, or at least you consciously think you are, we have a tendency to close ourselves down gesture-wise. And so then it looks like you really aren't open to receive. Because people read cues, and they read more of the physical cues than any of the verbal than it's ever been. So their thing is they're saying is that we also broadcast energy from us because it comes from our brain to create those physical cues, but there's also this, like an Eeyore type energy that seems to be, there. Now, my other question, I guess, because since I don't really feel like it's yours, do you have anybody in your space that looks like they have pain and suffering all the time, and they somehow tell you your stuff, and then you feel better, or they feel better and you feel worse? Because I feel like you're being zapped.
It used to be that way, and it got to be the point where I couldn't deal with it anymore. I pretty much cleaned house with my friends. I did, because I was the go-to person, and I was absorbing everybody else's crap.
Okay, that's good to know. Now understand that, yes, you consciously changed to learn to conquer, but it's still in the foundation of the way your brainwaves function. And that is part of the reason you drew them in. I'm asking yourself, why did she draw them in? Is because of a bashful nature. So do you go out and make friends, or do people come out and make friends with you first?
You know what? In the last, I would say I go out and make friends because my circumstances don't really allow people to come to me.
Okay.
It sounds kind of odd, but I have a very full load with my home life / children, and I've just gotten to the point in my life where I can go out and have some adult, extracurricular time away from
Okay,
Mom.
so again, we're looking at the foundation. You've learned to conquer, you've learned to grow, but you have to take all of you when you do this. And so all of those foundation sets it up so that you can, how you create your future. So you're consciously changing, but now we create an inner conflict because there's a part of you that wants to and the other part says, well, I can't. So you have an inner conflict that's going on. Energy-wise, this is what seems to be affecting the relationships, because that one minute you have passion and the next minute you don't. And it's like you have to give yourself pep talks, or you feel the motivation is that I have to get away from this isolation, and because I feel like you're changing your personality on such a deep level that it's now come to the surface that, you know what, I am done with the particular patterns. Now, these all can be healed and changed. Does your pride get hurt easily?
No.
Okay, so then again, I still feel like you're drawing in people that can have, their pride can be wounded quite easy. So when you go out to be with people, do you have to watch your manners?
Oh, the only person I ever watch my manners around is my mother.
Ah, okay.
Just out of respect for my mother.
Right,
But
right.
everybody else, no.
Okay, so again, this is all old foundation, so it will affect the relationship. So now I'm just going to look and say, if she were to start addressing this foundation and to resolve, to evolve, and literally just reprogram parts of yourself, not just the conscious part, but all of it. If she agreed to this, what would be the relationships be like? Okay, so there's still a retreat process. Now I got to find out, do you want her to retreat with herself? You would be able to retreat with somebody that you can enjoy being with. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so right now your downtime is that you just retreat from everything and everybody, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Out of necessity. Have to.
Yes, exactly. And they're saying that you actually could just find somebody, if you were to address this particular issue with your soul, that you could actually learn to retreat with somebody. Now, in this case, what I hear is that there's a part of you that's crying for a break. You're crying for some playfulness. You're crying, not the adult part of you, but there's that inner crying that says, oh my God, when can I just have a break? Does this make sense?
Sure.
Okay. And the playfulness. So this is one of the things I also see in the past, is that we program ourselves to say, yes, I know when I need a break and when I'm not getting one. When you get the break, is there a part of you that actually can enjoy the break? That ends up being the question. And your soul is saying, when she's on break, she's not on break. Because there's all of these self-talk, worries, I can see you kick back, put your feet up, and read a book or do what you need to do, but then it's like you're bombarded of that your peacetime will be interrupted. Does that make sense?
True. Yeah,
Okay,
true.
so there's that program that sits there. So they actually showed me a couple of those programs. So what is it then that I would ask the soul, if she were to address to change, what would she need to change in order for her to actually have a relationship where she can relax and just have fun with the person? They said that you have to look at the trust issues. The spleen meridian represents trust or distrust, and people have learned to trust you You know, that's been a very good part of your foundation. But you've had, they're showing me quite a few experiences where you go to trust somebody with all your heart and you really trust them, and all of a sudden it seems to backfire. And you're like, seriously? Again? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, and so they said this stems to all of the things they just talked about. So now I just got to ask, does she have a safety blanket around it? No. Okay, that's good. That means that you can go in and look at how you know what distrust is. There's a couple parts of a healing here. One in particular is what I call the definition. And this is where you define and redefine. You would have to sit down and notice how distrust is a big part of your lens that views people and draws it in, because there's a law of attraction. So throughout the day, you can actually find where things are distrusting. Oh, yep, see, you know, so you're looking at evidence over and over. Like when my friend, when she came to me and she had to do the define and redefine, it was about dread. She goes, oh, I have no dread, never did. I said, okay. Well, she went home, she did the assignment, and she realized that when she got in the morning, she dreaded getting up at 4 a.m. She dreaded having to get into the freezing shower. She dreaded having to make the coffee alone. I mean, she didn't realize how much it operated in her world. And then when she came back, she says, oh my God. I says, okay, so how you define dread, or for you would be distrust, is that ask yourself to write the definition down. Then you go ask your friends. Then you look at the world and say, okay, world, what does distrust mean? Now, this is where you're going to have to let the universe just start handing you the answers. And then you're going to go look in the dictionary and the thesaurus. And then what happens is that you defined, and then now you're redefining, because your soul is actually making you grow from what it used to know. You're expanding. It's like when you open up a map, you can never put it back properly. Well, your brain, who you are, is expanding. So you're expanding your own consciousness because you're choosing to observe. And then the other part of the healing would be where you would heal. And this is that you're going to resolve the old knowing so it doesn't have to bring up repercussions or force you to become the same as you were. Because when something becomes so repetition, our body starts dictating to the brain how you're going to have to act, and it'll bring in signals that says, see, told you so. So we have to break that body-mind connection. The brain is usually the one that sends the body the signals. So when you're happy, your body could send out a signal that would tell you, oh, now you have to act like this. Because you're recreating those experiences every single day, and everything has a part. So we have to disrupt how you know it. And these healing tools are basically to help you just think about it, feel it, be it, know it, bring up every experience. And what happens is that it tells your brain to stop, how do you want to put it, stop being stressed. So when this situation comes up, the blood, because your blood is going back into your brain, so let's back this up. Your frontal lobe creates your reality every single day. Your frontal lobe is responsible for when you get into stress or not stress. And if you are being stressed, you'll lose 80% of the blood, which will go into fight, flight, flee mode. And if there's a cue that said that I'm going to distrust somebody, you consciously are not going to register it. Everything else behind the scenes is going to take place before you even consciously going, ah, shit, there it is again. So if we train the brain or reprogram the frontal lobe to look at your health. So again, the healing tool would be that you would put your hand on your forehead and your hairline. You would be doing hope therapy, and you would just sit in your knowing and all of your experiences. You put it on a scale from 0 to 10. You give it a color. The healing tool will actually help that the number and the color will come down by itself. The self-talk, the pattern of thinking will actually change and calm to the point where, I don't care. Now, this is where I have to warn people, because some people, when they're in the healing tool, will quickly go into pep talk mode and talk themselves out of it, and it defeats the purpose of the healing. So in this case, I'd want you to get into your hells. I'd want you to get into how you know it. Because right now, you have been conquering and growing so greatly, which is very beneficial to every part of you. Now we got to get the rest to catch up. So you understand that I would like you to use a healing tool to change your thinking, change your knowing, change the feeling state, so that you can become more of who you are and not your programs or the hauntings of the past.
Well, that's a lot to chew on, isn't it?
Yes, that's why I have healing tools. That's why I teach classes. That's why I put them on video format. That's why I tell people to listen to archives again, because it's so important to, I can feel you want to grow. You're not wanting to stay in your state anymore. And that's huge, because people like you need to be supported in your growth process, because it's you that's going to make the difference in the world. It doesn't matter if you don't do anything publicly like everybody else, but you are a member of the group consciousness. You are the one that fuels whether we stay in hell or not. You are the one that actually helps to support other people that want to awaken and move forward. Okay? So, I'm just going to tell you where to go for the healing tools, and you listen, because to the archives, and when you're ready, you'll understand about define and redefine, and you heard the instructions about how to do it. And the Hope Therapy can be found on, well, actually there's two sites, but MW Reveal. M is in medicine, W is in women, and Reveal, REVEAL.com, and look under Healing Tools, which is on the left-hand side, and you're going to go to Hope Therapy. Hope Therapy is about the easiest thing you can do, because you just have to hold points on your wrist and your forehead, and then you just have to allow yourself to think and to feel and to be, because your brain is going to cleanse and to clear, and it's like taking the trash out. Your code, because you have to have a code to know what you're going to do, is R2D. R is in the right wrist. You're going to hold your left thumb on the right wrist. You're going to hold it on the second position on the pulse point. And then you're going to push your thumb in deep. And then you're going to put your finger in your palm, and then you put your right hand on your forehead and your hairline. And then there's a video that shows what to do. There's instructions so that you can reread it. And then there's another healing tool when you're ready. Now, I feel that you see things, that we have a way of modality, one particular sensory system, that you communicate with. We all do this, communicate with more, especially when we're stressed. When experiences of processing, like for instance, somebody died, that state of shock, we're unable to process it, but we take it in through our dominant sensory system, and we record it. And that doesn't help when we look through that lens again, because that stuff has to come up. And I just put up sensory system accessing on the site, and that's also under the healing tools. I would suggest that you look through it, read it, watch the video, so that you can go ahead and look at whatever you need to. In this case, I put an example up there that, I watch people take offense. I watch people think I'm disgusting. I watch people see me as, and it's part of helping to access how we store all of our things. I just feel like you needed to have this reading. Now, as far as will you have a love life? Yes. When will you have it? It will take time, because you have all of this foundation. If you were to heal it, you will be able to bring the playfulness back into your relationship. And when you do create one, you'll be able to be on a retreat with this person and not be annoyed that they're in your life. You'll actually be able to find that peace that you're looking for. So I'm just going to draw a card, or my husband's going to draw a card out of the love deck and see what we get. And it's about, let me ask you a question. Have you been running away from your romantic feelings?
Have I been running away from my romantic feelings? Wow.
Because here's a question.
Okay, yes, but because, oh my gosh, without going into, a whole, warm peace kind of thing, the person that I'm madly, truly deeply with somebody from a couple of decades ago. Now, don't take that to mean that I haven't gone on with my life, but this is somebody that I reconnected with, and I can't have him because he's not in a place where he's available. So I've been trying to squelch that because I know that it's not something that's in the cards right now.
Well, that makes sense why that card would come up. Okay, so, and as far as redefining the word trust or distrust, notice how you know that you can trust yourself, but you distrust yourself. That would be something I would have you look at, too. It still falls under the R2D, and they're telling me that, I don't know exactly what this is, whether it's to make yourself feel better. Well, usually what it is that we romanticize about something. When my mother, she's a great mom, but, she was very fearful. She didn't do things with me as far as help me with school or being in any of my activities. So I romanticized about how she was really this great, awesome mom. And she had died, when I was like 21, 22, I don't remember how old I was. But she came to me when I was 30 from the other side and basically said, stop trying to make me more than what I was. You have to see me for what I am if you are going to move forward and become a mother yourself. And I'm thinking, I can't have kids, but the thing is it was right. She was right. And so they're saying, how often have you romanticized about, I guess, other people? Because it actually causes you to feel better, but it actually causes you to put other people that you would want to draw in your space to date is not dateable. So again, it all points back to how you know and about the trust or distrust. I mean, I see people in your space, but what I see is all these obstacles that's going to cause you to actually have a long-lasting one. Okay?
Got it.
All right, again, watch the videos. We have them on YouTube. You just go to YouTube, Medicine Women Reveal. You can listen to it in the archives. We have them on Tindeck. Re-listen to it so that you can understand, because I know that you're awakening and you're looking for support and love, and we're just going to send that out to you, and whenever you need it, just know it's up on the matrix, and just reach up and just grab that with your name on it and say, this is mine. Now it's endless, so you don't have to worry about that it's going to run out or expire. It's always going to be there. Just know that there's somebody there that thinks about you, and know that we care. Okay?
You bet.
All right.
Thank you for spending this time with me.
Oh, I appreciate you calling in, dear, and apparently God wanted me to be with you, and I have. So just keep in touch, okay?
I will.
All right, thank you. What we're going to do is take a quick break. A little extra time because Spirit told me that I was supposed to with that caller, and I'm glad I did. To be able to, when you ask me a question, yes, I would love to answer it. Just remember, if you're asking me on air, then it is a free service that I am choosing to give. Now, when it comes to being pregnant, here is the issue that I've seen. I was recently asked, am I pregnant? Even if you are 3 to 6 months pregnant, you still have the potential of not being pregnant because the energy is in the fields, which is the physical, the mental, and the emotional, and the spiritual bodies. You still are the creator of your thought processes. Your body can start producing a baby, but does it really mean that it's pregnant? And I mean with a soul, with a spiritual soul that's in there. So when I feel this happening, and this goes out to somebody that had asked me the question, am I? Well, as I pull a card, the card came up as the gentle gardener, but reversed. Do you harbor resentments? Often do you reinforce negativity by affirming lack and limitations? Every time you send out a desire for something, but secretly harbor a belief that you're undeserving of it, you plant weeds in the field of your dreams. When the gentle gardener appears in your reverse position, she reminds you to be aware of any negative thoughts or selfish motives. She encourages you to step back and pay attention to what thought seeds you send out into the world. Weeds choke the life out of something in the beautiful garden. No need to fret, however, because once you recognize this, you can always remove a bad seed and replace it with a healthy one. Forgiveness is the most powerful restoration tool. So it's so important to understand that energy-wise, I don't predict, and nor do I, what's going on in the physical body. I have watched people, start having an issue in the physical body, but as soon as they started to change their thinking, it changed. It reminds me of dissociated identity disorder. These people would actually split, and one minute they're Sue, these are just names I'm making up, and she is a diabetic and she has heart trouble and she can't digest food. But in the same person, if they were to switch from Sue to Joanne, let's say, then Joanne probably doesn't have any of those physical issues. She's probably angry and she's just fit to be tied. Our brain is associated with our thoughts. And it's so important to understand the makeup of how this happens to us. Your brain, your association to creating life, the spiritual soul part of you that creates that life in you, your brain tells the body what to do, but if your body is creating a habit, then your body will tell you what to do. In the case of when you switch personalities, does that mean that you are possessed? No. It means that you have identified with particular, what do you want to call it, emotions, belief systems, definitions. It is the way you've created that first reaction to that moment of horror, whatever the shock may be. In some cases, when the shock is so much and you can't process, you have to split and literally don't know yourself one from the other. Some people have done it in many other different ways of splitting. So when you ask me certain questions, the way I see it is that when I'm channeling information, they first show me the grid above your head of all these variables which are connected to your thoughts that you have, which are 41 thoughts per minute. When you start looking a little further, they're showing me all of these placements, these points, markers that are away from your body, and most generally the ones that are behind are about your past. The ones that are off to the side are the ones that how you have an issue that's through time. It's like, oh, it's happening right now. It's not the past nor the future. It's, oh my God, it's right now. Then there's the markers that you have in the future. That means that you're so good at predicting your past that you know how that your future is going to be before it even happens. Like my husband would say, oh, I always get red lights when I go down the road. And what he's doing is he's reading the code that he has projected out there from his soul that says, I get red lights. Now, I got to prove it to myself. Then once it happens, you can say, CC, excuse me, I've got hiccups now. CC, I told you so. And all this means is that how is it that you're communicating with your consciousness? There's you, and then there's your consciousness. There's those moments that people have when they first wake up in the morning, and they don't resonate with anything in the room. Who's that person in bed with me? At least you can recognize that there's other things in your space. Probably before you even recognize that it's probably your husband or a male, you're just like, what, whoa. And you probably don't even remember your name if you were to ask yourself. Back, and I'm going to get back on track, so I'm not sure what I was talking about. I hate that. You're supposed to help me stay on target, and so we have to give Scott the cues of how to help me to make sure a show is good, and then I'm just giving you feedback. Okay? What's important about feedback is that it's about two people communicating. If he views me as a person that is a dictator, then it is his lens. And It is what he has learned from his past. So again, when I'm looking at energies, I see...
No, I don't think you're a dictator.
Okay, I wasn't fishing for that, but that's okay. I can ask him now that he wants to play. If we were going to be on camera, say, I believe my wife's a dictator.
I believe my wife's a dictator.
1! It's a 1 on the scale. That means there's a little bit of plausibility that it is true. That he doesn't, and here's the thing, is it in the way that he sees me? No. Is it in the way he hears me? Yes. Like I said, I recently just put up it's a sensory system accessing, and it is about the eyes and the ears, the energy that was on this planet that just a few days ago, actually before the election, so it was yesterday, and Monday you heard us on our show, if you listened, there seemed to be tension, and I thought, what's going on? So I said, I went to the back room and I said, all right, I need to address this, because what is this energy? 1, I couldn't be medicine woman because I had to observe the fact that it was my knowing, my feeling, it was mine. Besides, when I'm a medicine woman, I'm able to observe all the lenses that happen, out in front of me, because part of our job is to bring into the space of things that you may not know. So I looked at it and I says, well, I know it this way. I'm taking offense. It hurts. People are just mad because, and I can't get them to stop doing that. I'm not trying to say anything bad. What's happening? They're seeing me this way. And so I had to understand my dominant energy system of my sensory system about how I communicate when I'm stressed was through the eyes. We usually, out of the 4, which is the seeing, hearing, feeling, and thinking. The digital is what they refer to thinking, because it is a separate category than just thinking. But the digital, they all have different personalities, they all have their different traits, and then their vocabulary is different. For me, I saw people take offense. And so I had to ask which eye has the highest number. And for me, it was my right eye. And I wear glasses. If you haven't seen me, I wear glasses. And my right eye is weaker when it wants to see the future. It can't see. So that means when I take off my lens to look out into the world, my right eye sees it worse than the first. Oh, that's funny. Worse than my left eye.
Okay, that's it.
I got 2 talkers in my head right now.
Okay.
And it's, if my right eye is taking and viewing the out there, or the future aspect of the moment, as worse, then I had to go and look. I thought, oh, that makes sense. So my right eye, it was a 14 or a 15 out of 0. I mean, it should be 0. And my left eye, it was a 7. Oh, whoa. So I covered up my left eye, and I looked through my right eye, and the whole procedure of how to do the healing is in on our healing tools. And I'm going to create meditations so that they can be available for download after purchase or whatever, because these are, there's good that you can do them alone, but if you can be guided, it's even better if it's just one-on-one where you can actually answer questions better. But the eye axis, I covered up my left eye, and I'm looking through, and I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you how I know this person took offense. So I started to preserve all the positive learnings. You need to tell your subconscious mind this. And then you just start taking in how you know it. You use the treasure chest technique to some degree, and afterwards, which I haven't put on there, is you should do the Cordes, balancing your brain, and I've got to edit that and put that up as well. But I would cover my left eye, thought about it, and then deliberately snap my fingers and switch, cover my right eye, and my left eye, I'm viewing all of the way life is through just that left eye. So what I was working on, only look through it through my left eye. And I go, okay, so then I started to go into doing my best to recreate that moment. It felt differently, it was in a different position, it was out further, and so then I preserved all the positive learning, started pulling it out, and then switched again, and I did that back and forth between my eyes until both eyes were 0, both eyes were looking and seeing the color white. I no longer felt or needed to see people take offense, and I felt relieved. Then I told the rest of my housemates, and so my husband, I said, please work with me. or I should say play. I like to say play, but he thinks it's wrong, so I just think work.
I don't think.
No,
is
play
wrong.
goes in another mindset.
Oh, that's right.
So I just say work with me on that one.
Okay, got
That's
it.
why when I say to other people play with me, he's like, say what? So his definition is different.
Okay.
So I'm looking at him and I said, let's do this. Now, his stress mode, and when his dominancy of his stress mode is hearing. And he hears me being, I says, okay, do you see me take offense? And you said,
I don't remember.
okay, work with me. Because now they think I'm lying.
No, you're not lying. I'm just trying
Let's
to
look at it
remember.
this way. He healed it so much that he don't even remember the incident.
Yeah.
You were laying on the bed,
Oh, yes.
okay, and you're watching me fold clothes or do
Yes,
something.
yes.
And I says, we can't do this. And I says, did you see me take offense
I said,
today?
yeah, you can't do this anymore. You should be vacuuming too.
Boy, I think I need to heal that one because he's a comedian and that's not funny.
No, anyways.
And then you just pissed all the women off in the
No,
room.
jeez, I don't
So
mean
do you
to
really
do
want that energy from those women? Anyways.
No. I'm gonna.
No, you can't shut up. We're live on radio.
I know.
So, and stop making all that noise, mister.
Yes.
So I asked him which ear, and he felt it strongly.
That's
on your
right.
right ear, didn't you?
Yes.
And do you remember what the number was? It was above a 10.
Yeah, 11's, I don't know.
So then
It
I
was
had
high.
him cover up one ear, and we went back and forth, deliberately interrupting the flow, snapping the fingers. And,
Yes.
anyways, we went back and forth, and he finally got down to 0, and we got done. I said, so do you see me as crabby? He goes, no. Pay attention.
I'm just was reading the chat.
I know, but I'm talking to have a conversation
yes.
with you.
I'm listening.
So where were we? As you
talking
got
about
done
me?
healing,
Yes,
did you
that's-
start seeing me as, even though he had the
You got
foundation,
nicer.
I got nicer. I wasn't ornery anymore.
Holy mackerel.
I said it right?
Yes.
Yeah,
No more ornery?
ornery.
Okay.
So my brain says it differently, just like with the
That's fine.
English say it
It's a
differently
unique
than he
thing
does.
to you, so. Yes.
Yes.
We'll look in this schedule.
But as he was looking at this, you got to remember, it's your lens. It's about how you define it.
Yes, how
And
you see things.
I'm getting closer at launching the class date to be able to start teaching how to become a spiritual human. This is the next generation of becoming, because I was okay. So I was telling on Monday, there was a friend that had decided, this is the political events. I'm going to put stuff up, and so she wasn't really for everything that this person did, but she wasn't completely against it. There were some good qualities. Well, I say we're going to have to educate people on Facebook. They have changed in such a dramatic way that there's your wall that has all the news feeds on the right and advertisements. And then there is the news feed that has all the advertisements and other stuff that's on the wall. Plus, it's even about how you're invited. So somebody said, oh, so-and-so posted this. And sometimes Facebook will say so-and-so believes in this, likes this, when it isn't true. And that part really got me. But I started to learn how, play this game because so-and-so's playing it. No, they weren't.
Oh yeah, I get those all the time. I got all those invitations to these different. I never play Facebook games.
Correct, but everybody's
But
blaming.
Facebook makes you think that your friends invite you to play this game, and your friend never has invited
Now,
you.
there are some friends that have invited. Okay?
Right.
But there's all of this algorithms that are happening, and what do? We get mad, we blame, we say we don't like it, and then we start creating distension. We start creating that entanglement cord to have hell in it before we even interacted with that person. So there's several instances that occurred that one person, had put a political belief system, and somebody that said, oh, because you are a religious person the same as I am in same faith, you are now out of line and you need, and she pretty much condemned her to hell, because how dare her
How dare
to
she
have her
like
own
some
opinion.
politician that had a opinion that opposed a certain view of something?
And so when she says that she's no longer her friend, yada, 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 I'm sorry. She kept apologizing, and I'm thinking, why do you want this person back in your space? But anyways, I got on, I said, I'm sorry that you got tanked. You are a great person in my eyes. I've always seen you as very gentle and loving, and it's important that I respect the fact that whatever it is you chose, it's your decision. Just know that there's people out there that believe in you. And then we got in this discussion. She goes, what is tanking? And I explained what tanking was. And so then the next thing you know, I didn't know it, but somebody, that woman, sent me these nasty letters. Yeah, she got caught in the semantics saying, I accused her of being this, and all I was saying was there's a behavior, she was probably feeling some grief.
That's all you said. You said to the one friend, you said, this other person that said this about you is probably just has some grief in her life or something. That's all you said.
And then
you didn't call her a name or anything. And she writes to you and chews you out and says, how dare you claim to be blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking,
and she's
did
only
she
trying
not
to
read
cut
the same thing I read?
No, but she was trying to cut me quick, and this is part of the old system, the left behind. The world as we know it, for them, is changing. That world can't be mixed with this, and this is why I said it's the next generation. Because you have to remember, the end of the world is happening for you as you know it. It's about in the knowing. It's very important you understand that. So as this hierarchy of the power play, as this goes on to the pimp and the prostitute, this dynamics that I have the right to survive by yelling louder, and I'll create this mob mentality that'll believe in me.
Some people believe that who yells the loudest is the right one.
That, yeah. I mean, there's all this is starting to crumble down. And I wasn't going to do a power play with her. I'm not going to sit there and fight. She is on her own little world. You know what? So be it. But it's her way of trying to reclaim the power that she lost, and she feels that she has to get it from me. And it goes back and forth about how we play these games with ourselves, and each of us are aspects of ourselves. You are me, I am you, in some form. So that power play started, all I was doing was trying to show love and affection to the one that had just got brutally beat up on her own wall. And she was accusing her of saying that you posted this on my wall. And she said, I didn't post anything on your wall. And come to find out, she didn't even post anything about the political thing. It just showed up on...
It showed up because one politician had a belief in a certain thing, and it showed up on the lady's wall and said, so-and-so likes so-and-so who believes in this.
Mm-hmm. And then there's this thing that you've heard me rant about before, and it was about the, how do I want to put it? It's about how do you reach out to make friends, okay? I know that as I was growing up, I didn't reach out to make friends because I was very fearful of people. So I needed people to come out and reach out to me. But Facebook says you can't be friends with anybody if you don't know them. Which to me, really? But yet they have friend suggestions of so-and-so. So the experience was, this one person writes me quickly and says, do you know so-and-so? It says you know so-and-so. And I think it's a scam, and I'm going to report this person, and I'm going to turn them in so their account gets closed down. I'm like, what the? I go and look, and this person is legitimate, just like you and I. And yet this person's going to get bashed and harassed because this other person didn't like them, and these people
misinformed about them.
Well, and we cater to these people that cry the loudest. All I can say is, Facebook, make a button that says to give to those that don't want to interact with people, and say F off. I don't care how you want to do it, but just have a button that says I like my privacy. If you don't like it, get out of the social event. Get out of Facebook. And all I know is that I'm being accused of something that I didn't do, and it was like, seriously, I do need to heal that one. But this person was willing, how dare you recommend somebody? And I didn't recommend anybody. Again, on the wall said so-and-so likes this. Maybe they think you would like them too. You have to have a Facebook education, because there's too many people that take offense, jump to the wrong conclusions, and just... that woman was saying I was a baby killer, and I'm like, how did me helping this one woman feel better, make it so that I'm all of a sudden a bad person that does that. Seriously? Wow. Again, when you're grasping for straws, you're going to try to take whatever you can, and you're going to throw as many darts as you can. You know, like I had the one person, because he couldn't think of anything bad to say, turn on and says, "You're a bad speller. You need to go back to school. You're so stupid." And then they ran with that as far as they could, and I'm thinking, is that what our history tells us, and that is what we're still doing today? We say we want peace, but we're only creating war. Remember, your inner world creates your outer world. Okay? Yeah, I would say yes, Octarine. We are releasing some pressure. And I have never really experienced, oh wow, I can't remember the name of the darn retrograde, Mercury, so much as I have in this conscious shift in this particular month. Oh, I was just like, every phase of it. And today, it's literally, people need, wow, it's, you know, and it's all has to be changed. So I'm, you know, as I'm aware of this, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to tap and heal so that I don't have to know people like this. I don't have to know my world like this. I don't have to keep producing it. And that is how you can start interacting with the planet's energies, is literally know how you know it and use a tool to resolve, reprogram, and to grow, to move beyond, because your true self is not the over-identifications of your hells. Those can be resolved. There's much proof of that. Stuff like this, and our good friend Octarine would like to chat, so we're going to bring her on. Hello, Octarine, you on the air?
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, how are you, dear?
I'm good. I'm not venting. I don't need to vent.
So,
but a lot of people do.
a lot of people do what?
And,
Vent?
A lot of people need to vent.
Yes, they do. And a lot of people vent by tanking, and instead of being sounding boards and learning how to communicate, or draw the right person in to communicate with. So yes, venting is a good word that I'm glad you brought up. What else?
Well, Mercury is not in its element right now. Besides being retrograde, he's also out of his element. He's in Sagittarius.
Okay.
Right now. He's going to actually retrograde back into Scorpio for a little bit. And be in Scorpio throughout the second half of the retrograde, which will be a little bit nicer energy. But right now he's in Sagittarius and he's not liking it very much. And he's causing some real communication problems. Like, I mean, he usually does. You know, he is the communicator of the solar system anyway, but he's just causing some real communication problems.
Okay, so who's having problems communicating? Which planet?
Mercury.
Okay.
Because at the moment he's in Sagittarius.
Okay, so when you look at this, each planet has a personality just like a person.
Exactly, yes.
And these, each of them also have behaviors, and that is what really, just like with the goddesses, we have to look at all of these different personalities, behaviors. They are actually templates. But most people don't realize that they have influenced, or the planets influence us, but we have a way so that we don't always have to obey what the planets tell you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Yeah. Well, there's a whole bunch of hard aspects going on right now. Hard aspects means that there's a whole bunch of planetary placements that are not, the planets are not agreeing with each other.
Ah.
And so when they're not agreeing, it sends that disagreeable energy to us. And depending on where these planets are in our chart, depends on how much we are affected by it.
Well, that would make sense. I mean, this is all coming together for me.
Some people are experiencing a lot of ego right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got a lot of water happening. We've got Neptune opposing the moon, and Neptune is in Pisces, which is a water sign, and the moon is all about emotions. Neptune is,
kind of emotional. It's more of your intuition and, you know, spiritual self, that kind of stuff. They're disagreeing with each other right now, and that's part of the energy that has brought about this second storm that's getting ready to hit the Northeast.
Oh, wow.
I heard
There's
about
like
that a little bit.
there's a whole bunch of water stuff going on, water signs, water energy going on. That's creating some havoc.
That makes sense. This is also the finishing up the year of the dragon, which is all about disagreeing and moving forward. And I know that the next part of that's coming in, and I can't remember which one it is all about making whatever dreams that you had or ideas in this particular year, it's all going to start to come to pass. So you have last few remaining months before this year is over, and I highly suggest that you start thinking about what you want and what you need and where you want to grow. It's fascinating to really look at the planets because people define planets as planets. They don't really put any in-depth to it. Astrology was astrology, but really opening it up and how does this planet represent life as, you know, it's about how it affects relationships. It's about personalities. It's an archetype about who you are and what you can become. You don't have to be locked into your planet. You can do a lot of healing and resolving to change so that you can get the good side of the planet. Even Mercury has a great side to it.
Absolutely, yeah. They all have a positive and negative or a light and a shadow side.
Oh, wow. How about...
I don't ever...
Okay.
I don't... A lot of people put a lot of stock in Mercury retrograde.
Yes,
and
they do.
It's...
They want to blame.
I mean, I do and I don't. I'm aware of it when it comes, but I don't let it control. Oh, Mercury. I don't blame everything on Mercury retrograde like a lot of people do.
Right. But they can understand that one.
It happens 4 times a year, and for 3 weeks each time, so that's 12 weeks out of the year, or 3 months out of the year, that it's retrograde. It's a fact of life. It's going to be that way.
Wow.
Well,
Now, that's a great information that you just gave.
I didn't know that.
All right, hon, I'm going to take these other callers, and then if we still have time, I'd love to chat with you about this some more, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the next caller.
Okay, area code 646.
You're on the air with Brenda and Scott.
Hey, Brenda, hi.
Hi. How can I help you?
You told me before, but I guess I didn't follow through enough. I was wondering if you can help me with the area of abundance and
Okay.
what to do, what tapping to do.
All right. So let me look at this. I'm going to ask your soul about abundance and how is it projecting the abundance for you. And they said to have the abundance right now, there's not enough pathway. So it's acute versus chronic, which means it can be not as often as you would like. So what would cause the person to not have the acute? Again, and not enough pathway. You have to build up the steam to create the momentum so that it'll happen continuously. So now I'm going to ask, is there anything that needs to be resolved so that this momentum can kick in? And they're saying, they're saying the word indifference. There's good, bad, and indifference means you're not taking sides. But it's also the feeling of, how do I want to put this? Indifference. There's not, it's not
caring, you mean? Or?
Well, in the human mindset, when you are not identifying with the negative or identifying with the positive, we end up having a tendency to identify with the indifference, which is a interesting feeling that creates the emotion of nothingness. So they're saying, do you understand what indifference means to you? Did you hang up? Oh, I think the phone went. No, there you are.
I missed it. Said something to you. I missed it all.
Okay, are you on, I don't know why you're not coming clear. Indifference, does that word mean anything to
We
you?
got a bad
I have
connection.
3 maybe this will be better. I hope.
Okay. Anyways, do you know what indifference means?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I guess maybe it's making progress because I'm not negative about it.
I gotta find out why they're putting that particular word out there, because
Okay.
again, I see that you're trinkling it in little by little,
Mm-hmm.
and that so I asked them again, what is causing it so that it only trinkles little by little, and they would go to indifference. Now I'm gonna look and see if there's anything else specific, and they said, oh yes, okay, so they're going. When you start to have abundance, you are supposed to some degree, change the pathway, get excited, but it is to announce, to witness. When I have stuff that's good that happens to me, I say, oh my gosh, this is what happened to me the other day. But the old school of thinking is that you're not supposed to brag, you're not supposed to be lofty, you're not supposed to put yourself above anybody else. So when you are experiencing abundance, have you told anybody about it since you started to create abundance in your space?
Not abundance in money, but abundance in getting some of the work I wanted to get. Maybe
Yes.
being very excited about it.
Did you tell
And then I
anybody
wonder, should I- what?
the happiness and joy of it? Because the reason I'm at, because when you ask somebody and they think you're bragging or you're afraid. I had to heal a big one, which was I was afraid to tell people of my great success because they didn't have it.
No, I've been just really joyful about it, and then I wonder if I should even tell it because maybe it's not even good to talk about it, about getting excited, about getting a little job here, a little job there, that I wanted in my field, and getting really excited, even though it's not a lot of money, and, scale of 1 to 10, it would be a 1, but it drove me to no end. I'm on the road and going step by step.
Okay, so in those words of what you said, there's a little bit of guilt or shame, or you didn't want to jinx it, or there's something there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's what you have to correct yourself with. I don't think it's permanently embedded, but you're going, maybe I shouldn't do this or that. But when you have the two energies that are coming at you, a positive and negative, they need to work together. We're so programmed with the negative that we're going to jinx it, something bad's going to happen because we don't want our hopes to fall. That is going to be your hugest thing, and that's why I would tell you to address that you're afraid that your hopes are going to fail, or that you're going to become hopeless because there's going to be too many times or roadblocks. But all that means is that you're digging for your diamond and you're like inches away, but then hopelessness sets in, and usually that's a sign of that, give it 5 minutes, your miracle's about ready to happen. So just be patient. But when you're running with this frequency of abundance with the law of attraction, it is the emotion and that helps you keep creating. Emotionally, people, if you watch them be upset, they will create more havoc because they got the feeling down pat about it. That's why I tell people to heal the knowing of this particular thing. So they don't want you to stay indifferent about your happiness, about the stuff that comes. What I've learned, and anything that I've learned, is that you have to train that brain to create a pathway so that you get the feeling state, which means it's cemented in the body, and then the emotions will just come out of it. Because most people, when you see them being negative, they already have the feeling inside their body. It's marked, it's become habit, and then feelings just come off it, and it creates more hell. Like attracts like. In the abundance thing that we do, the problem is that we don't allow it to become habitual in our body to the point where it has an automatic feeling. And so when you start to stir it up with emotions, you'll be able to create better. So you need to be witness as a reminder, whether you write it down or tell a friend, you need to remind yourself, because sometimes what we do is we go in and go, I don't know if that really happened. We talk ourselves out of our joy because there's lack of pathway. So constantly praise, constantly witness, thank the universe, thank you for arranging, the universe for arranging more of it. Thank you because you deserve it. But it's that part of getting that momentum going. Because if you don't have it, like I said, marked in your body as part of its foundation, it's just going to see it as a throwaway. Because your frontal lobe creates your reality, and if you can't get that thought focused as a concrete, then the glial cells will come along and swipe them away so that you'll forget. I mean, there's a whole process of how we function. So, in order, they're saying that you don't really have an issue except for stop being so indifferent. They want you to have more abundance. They want you to learn to get excited about it, create the foundation in your body so that you can already get the feeling that something's going to happen. They did say there's one thing that they want you to address, is that the part of the strategy is about ready when you're about happy because you're starting to notice you're getting it, is that you go into a hopelessness. You don't really notice it, but it's part of the old program, and it kind of creeps in there on that new strategy of having abundance. So I'm going to ask, how do you want her to heal it? Okay, I just put up a new healing tool. It's called the sensory system accessing, and now I have to find out when you're stressed, which sensory system do you dominate through, and it looks like your sight. So do you see your hopes being dashed? Do you notice, or because see, you have to watch the certain words. There's an aware, notice, but like when you look and you see it. In this case, the eye accessing one, which is the sensory system one, you'll glow in there, and it's the way you see. Do you see your dreams about ready to fall apart, or do you see that you don't have enough abundance?
Yeah, that's not a feeling thing. Then I guess it's a seeing thing on the physical even.
Yes. And so, again, with the mental and the feelings, it's not there. But it is the sensory system. In this case, they'll tell me, like, for instance, that you're, if you were, I'm going to just start you off, and then you can go to the healing tools. But, for instance, when you think about how I don't see abundance coming in, I want you to find the right words for yourself. Or I'm afraid it's going to be taken away. It's about the abundance.
I don't have money to pay my bills.
Yeah, that stuff comes up. So you see that you don't have enough yet, enough abundance. That might be the words.
Yeah.
Which eye, if you were to look only through one eye, which eye would you be looking through the most about that story of proven? Yep, I got proof that I do not have enough.
I think my left.
Okay, and if you put it on a scale from 0 to 10 or higher, and the highest is, that's how much I believe in it, what number would you get?
5 to 7.
Okay, and so then, long as you got that witnessed, and you said which eye was that?
Left.
Okay, so now I want you to deliberately cover your left eye and look through everything that we just talked about through your right eye, and tell me what number that is.
1-3.
See, now you totally can see the difference. So go through the eye accessing, or the sensory system accessing healing tool, and finish it out, because it's real simple. I got a YouTube up, and I got the instructions, and go finish it out. I know you can do this, because we got to get you trained to see that you have this. And if you feel like hopelessness is a state of feeling, notice how, and I feel like you hear it, more or less. You hear hopelessness. You hear other people doing it, and you hear it, and you don't want to attract it into your space. So do the ear, just like the eye, do the ear accessing about how you hear hopelessness around you. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you calling in, dear.
Okay, can I just look on YouTube for it?
No. You go to mwreveal.com, and on the left-hand side is the healing tools, and you'll see it. Now, I had a full board with questions, but all of a sudden, all the phones...
No worries.
No. Just a minute. I want you to stay with me, because they all left.
Oh.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask...
The couple of the callers we had in the line, they were there
2 seconds?
2 or 3 minutes and hung up, apparently.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask the universe, do you want me to help her? Yes.
Maybe that's why they...
Yeah, I'm going to follow this through. Okay. All right, sweetheart. So let's go back to how, I'm going to just say, do we want to talk about abundance? So let's start off with that one again. And I want you to cover up that right eye. I want you to focus all of that through the left eye. And I want you to really get into how you know it. And all you have to do is just imagine. So you're going to preserve all the positive learnings. And you're going to start pulling it out of that eye. That means you're going to probably end up focusing on the picture of how you see it. Yep, that happened, and you just keep pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out, and then just 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to cover up the left eye, and you're going to look through everything through your right eye, and you're going to stare at that again. Stare at it, and just start pulling it out. We're going to preserve all the positive learnings. Pull it out. Keep doing it. There's some, there you go. Keep doing it. And what's going to happen is we're going to preserve all the positive learnings. Now we're going to switch. Uncover your right, cover your left. Wait, I just got myself confused.
Do
Just
the opposite
switch
of
the
what-
opposite.
switch-
My left covered.
Okay, so now look through take the picture of everything, of what we're focusing on, and give me a color and number on it.
Which I am. So I have my left covered, and I covered my right. Now I have neither covered.
Okay, just pick one. We're just going to pick one.
When I cover my left, I get a very big sensation in my solar plexus, and
Oh.
really like feeling.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. And is the number there?
Well,
Do you have
before, not now. It's lessened.
Excellent.
Now I go for a 5 in the left.
Okay, and so that's a lot better than what you had. So we're just going to breathe in and out, and we're going to say, you know what? We're going to just start pulling it out. And you have to make the choice of pulling the pictures because you're seeing it that way. And you see it happening to you, or are you seeing it around you?
It's more about me. I feel like I have these bills, or there's a lot of clutter, and it's just disorder.
Now here's a question. They said, do you see it passing you by, all the good stuff, all the abundance? Do you see it passing you by?
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay, because that's the pictures you're showing me. And then just all of a sudden say, hey, and you can actually take that energy out and then kind of flag it down so that they can see you. I need you to just kind of say, hey, here I am, and make that acknowledgement, that contact with the thing that's passing you by. And does it feel like it wants to greet you or run the other way?
You know, it's sort of slowing down, stopping for me, and yeah.
Okay, so keep it going until you acknowledge, until that energy of abundance is coming at you instead of passing you by. So as you do that,
I'm keeping my right eye covered while I'm doing this.
Yep, because we're going to switch in just
Okay.
a second. So,
Alright.
okay, so now when you allow that in, and if it feels comfortable, great. Allow that indifference to be taken out and know that you can have it. Let it fill you up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to preserve all the positive learnings, 1, 2, 3. Now switch and cover up the left eye and look through the right eye, and you tell me, when you're looking through it, the issue that we were looking at, and you put that on the scale of 0 to 10, what do you have?
It's a 3. It's like
Okay. Now we're going to...
I don't get that feeling in my stomach.
Oh, good. That's good. Let it go.
I
Now,
don't get it with the right eye. Yeah. Okay.
so now you're just going to pull it out, pull anything out that, I don't need this. I look at that. See, there it is again. Oh, this is how I know it. And you're going to pull it out and pull it out. And then when 1, 2, 3, you're going to deliberately switch, which means cover up the left eye. Okay?
Okay.
Now, you're going to observe, again, everything we were just looking at with abundance, because I know the words have changed, but look at it, and you see this happening. What is there? Is there any number?
Yeah, the number's 3, and the abundance felt like a train that was passing me by, and the train sort of stopped. Since that's my guess, in the situation that I've been in, I've let a lot of things pass me by, just think, well, I can't afford this, and just kind of keeping my nose to the grindstone, not spending unnecessary money anywhere, even unnecessary things, but not having it, so thinking,
Yep, that became
not
chronic.
here.
And You now say that's chronic. So we're going to preserve all the positive learnings, and we're going to pull out that chronic of knowing this. That's your dogma. This is the no. I'm done with it, and just kind of pull it out. Pull it out. Just stare at it. Ah, what you just explained. Just stare it out. Pull it out. Stare at it, and we're going to preserve all the positive learnings and be done with it. And as you do, deliberately switch. Okay. Now cover up the right eye. Now look at every.
Now,
Go ahead.
As I was finishing with the left, I had to sense like doors on the train open, and then I could see like gold, like there was abundance there.
Excellent, excellent. We're getting better at this. Okay, so now as you look.
Yeah, and that's right.
No, so now which
Just
eye?
like a walk.
Yeah. So now when you got, I believe we're going to cover up the right eye. No. As we.
Oh no, covering the left now.
Thank you. What now look through, and then the right eye. What number would it be?
Now I think we're on 1.
Oh, that's better. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, is there any chronic stuff that would actually say, oh yeah, I still have this. Oh, I know it. So it's like my husband saying, I get all red lights when I drive. So you know, I want you to look at that and say, oh yeah, that's how I know it. And then just kind of preserve all the positive learnings. You will have bills because that's just part of life. But if you can have great abundance, you're still going to get the bill. But you're going to have money and more money to be able to pay it and still have money onto the side. So we don't have to blame the bills. We just have to, yes, they're there. We coexist together. So just pull out anything that says no. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I felt a shift. I don't know about you. Because they said make sure that you're not running from the bills or the bad stuff, because it's not bad. It's just where they are. Now just remove and transcend anything about it's running from you or you're running from it. Just start to remove it out. Then breathe in and out. And now I want you to cover up that right eye.
Okay, now cover. Yeah.
And then we're going to go, and then you're going to tell me as you view everything through that left eye what number it is.
Okay, I think we're like at a 1 with the left side now too.
Okay. And so now the thing is whatever's left, you got to just yank it out. So I'm just going to talk while you pull it out. I want it all gone. No sense of keeping any of it. And you just keep it up. And what I'm going to do, as you're healing this, I'm going to draw a card. Now I'm going to have Scott draw a card, and what we're going to do is, the question is, this was before she did all this healing, what was it?
Okay, prior to the healing, it was.
And then
this.
you take, and now after the healing, what has she got now?
Okay, so prior was the listening card.
Okay, so the listening card, you can turn it to.
Let's see what the card says.
Now I want you to deliberately switch eyes, dear, and just pull out any remainder.
53, that's right towards the back. Okay, shall I read
Loud
it?
enough,
Okay.
yes.
An open heart will hear the message. When this card appears, you are being reminded that there is a time to speak and a time to be silent. Now is an occasion for listening. Pay attention not only to what is being spoken, but also to what is not being said at the moment. For the deeper message is not always obvious. Listen with your heart, not just your ears, and you'll find clarity. Receiving the listening card is a fortunate sign and ensures a greater understanding of your circumstances.
Well, that's good. That's what she was doing. She says something's not right, but she was using her indifference. And now all of a sudden she's realizing that wasn't working. And now when you do all this healing, as we finished off, now switch and make sure that, and let me know if there's 0 on both sides. If not, just keep going back and forth.
Okay.
And then, now when she finishes up the healing, this is a card, it's Follow the
Okay.
Leader, number 40. Go ahead and
Oh, read it right now?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Follow the leader. Every life is a teaching tool for others. Your authenticity and honesty are an example to those around you. You're being called to lead others by example. Your wisdom has been earned as a result of your bravery and the adventure of your life. The experiences of battles won and lost, places discovered, tears shed, and joys revealed have placed you in a unique position to be of service to others. Your suffering has been crystallized into a talisman of wisdom. Now you must share it. By being fully authentic, you'll lead others into the light. You'll be required to divulge some things about your past so that you may help someone else. Lead with love. There is another Message here as well. Look at those whose great character and accomplishments you admire. Emulate the leaders you respect. You will then in turn have more to offer.
Now that's awesome. That tells me that you're coming more in line with your abundance, for definitely. So, what numbers do you have in either eye, dear?
I feel like I'm at 0 now.
Okay. So if you feel like there's any left, just please be aware of maybe a thought pattern that's with it. It may pop up later, but do understand that maybe you just need to finish taking out, and you have to change, from what I can see, how you see your abundance, because right now it's just very few and far between. So if you're looking and seeing it's just acute, then notice that it's what it looks like through the left eye, and if there's a number there, pull it out. Now, when we change statements, sometimes the numbers go back up, and that's no big deal. You just do the same process out, because it is in all the way that you connect with your environment. So, as you keep pulling it out, according to this, you're going to have great success.
Well, that's beautiful.
I definitely said. Well, I appreciate that you have chosen to help us heal, help you heal, or us heal, because you're healing me too, on air, and I appreciate that. So let's just view again. Is there any number in the left eye? Yes or no?
Okay.
There's a 1 there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the 1 is related to that you see it is acute. This is how much you believe in it. So I want you to just say, yeah, I seen it. Yes, I had evidence that it was very little. Okay, so you're going to preserve all positive learnings, and you're going to just pull it out, and then you're going to switch, and then you're going to go to the right eye. Now remember,
Back and forth, huh?
yeah. So when you switch, what number do you see it now?
Okay.
0. I can barely hear you, honey. I can't tell if you said
kind of
6.
breaking up a little bit.
Well, apparently, all I can tell you is we're having problems hearing each other.
Yeah, your signal's breaking up or we can't hear you.
All I can tell you is that maybe that's when we're done. Just keep doing it until it's 0. And go back and look at everything. If it has any more problems, I would say look at how you hear it. Or hear how the hopelessness, as I was saying earlier, I think that might be connected to it. When it hits to be a 1 and you can't get it down further, usually sometimes a 3 will be the same way. That means you have to come in from another angle, and for you in this sound process, you hear it around you, that hopelessness. Okay, because it's not part of your reality. You don't need it anymore. Okay?
Okay. Thank
All right.
you, Brenda.
Thank you, dear.
I'll get to the website.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
stay in contact. Remember, mwreveal.com, healing tools, and then look for sensory system accessing. All righty. So one of the things that you have to be aware of is that when you are using your sensory system, it is a way that you communicate big time. You wouldn't think that is about communication, but it is. And each system has an important way of looking at it. Whereas, like, it has its own language, and I see, usually meaning it could be the present or the future or the past. We're always working with the tenses. Hearing, like I was telling you, my husband would hear me be ornery, and just, yeah, he's all surprised that I can say the word again. But, you know, hope therapy helped. But now we have to pull it out of the knowing process. And that knowing process usually is through the sensory system. Now, I was thinking about what Karen was talking about, and I guess what I need to do is have just some more clarity, because I really like, now I don't know, I probably could do the homework online myself, but when it comes to the planets, you know, like she said venting. Venting was, what'd she say, Mercury? But I mean,
Yes.
if we could actually come up with, and maybe Karen and I can do this, I don't feel like I'm supposed to do it alone, but with my 14 meridians, and I'm showing what my chart looks like. It's a little messed up right now. But I actually were able to put all of the meridians down, small intestine, the heart, gallbladder, bladder, etc. And I put the emotion, the negative emotion, that's with it. We're healing the negative emotions. You know, the positive emotions we can take and say, what's the other side of the coin? I'm wondering if me and Karen could work together and come up with characteristics of certain things that we can put in a line like I did here. So if Karen would like to be on
She's gonna.
open mic, so as soon as he clicks it.
Okay. Hello,
Karen,
Karen.
are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So how did you like what I just said? Do you think we can come up with a system where we can just have it like I have for my meridian chart here?
Well, I'd be willing to give it a shot.
Because like venting is a very good word that we could be adding to it. So we could put the planet, and then if the planet has a main character, emotion, or whatever it is, then that would be, I'd have to show you my sheet, and then we would have to list the few things off to the side, because that way, you know, I'm all for educating people into what does life represent, or I mean, what does this represent life as. The planets have a lot to say. You know, they are an archetype, just like the templates that we have with regular archetypes of becoming a mother, the pimp, the prostitute, the child, you know, they're all important. So venting right now, Karen, what planet would you say that is?
Well, it's a combination of things going on, but it's communication. It's Mercury.
Okay, so that's very good. I'm waiting for my husband. Here we go. So if I have Mercury, so if I put Mercury down, it's about that communication. But one of the things that could happen is the way that one vents. Okay. Now, anything else that you think that would fall within that one?
Within the venting, the communications?
Yeah, like with Mercury, any other emotion, negative emotion that could be with it? I know this is putting you on the spot. I'm good at that, apparently.
Yeah, you are.
But I know that you have a unique handle on the astrology, like I have a unique angle, but it's a form of way of teaching it that takes what's already being said, but presenting it with a different voice that it actually can be seen and heard differently. Like I've learned all of this stuff before, and it never clicked, never sunk in. And then when I was presented to me in another angle, it was like, oh, duh. And I feel like that's part of what our voice is supposed to be, is to give that, and we could actually probably create this to be a way that you can do readings. So I have a feeling that we could if you would like to do this, then we can, you know, start thinking back and forth, and we could probably use Google Docs and come up with something. Because then, you know, one way or the other, I'm going to do it. So if you want to be a part of it, then that'd be great.
Well, I know you're determined. So right now what's going on is Mercury has just gone retrograde, and that means it's basically stopped in its tracks.
Ooh.
It's shifted direction. It's stationed. The term stationed means it stopped dead in its tracks. It's going, it appears to be going in a different direction. Retrograde typically means going backwards.
Very good definition.
Yesterday was 6.
Mm-hmm.
So usually, like with the full moon, you usually feel the full moon energy strongest the day before, the day after, the day after.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when Mercury goes retrograde, you feel its energy the strongest 3 days before and 3 days after. So we've still got a couple of days of really, really strong, intense Mercury energy. But like I said, we've got some other stuff going on with like Neptune and all these watery planets, watery signs and planets and things not communicating back and forth with each other very well. And it's stirring up a lot of emotion. And then there's this Saturn and Scorpio energy that we're going to be dealing with for the next 3 years. And that's pretty much directing traffic for everybody.
Oh, wow.
That's the biggie. That's the biggie that's sort of the engine that's driving the train for the next 3 years.
Well, that has a lot to do with the conscious shift, because it's shifting for the better, and so the direction is going to have to be a little bit more directing it, I think, through that positive frequency than where we had it in the past, where it was very domineering. Because this structure of how the hierarchy, one is in charge of another, is literally starting to fall to the wayside. You mean, you look out in the government, you're thinking that's not true, but it doesn't start out there. It starts with one person at a time, and their inner world changing the outer world. Because there are more people that I brought into my space that is doing just that. They're shifting that belief. So I like the fact that Scorpio is helping to direct traffic. Now, if the group consciousness is going to stay in a negative state, then it will feel like the hierarchy's there. So you said in the next 3 years, and that makes sense. Usually 3 and 7 go hand in hand. Now,
Saturn is all about rules and regulations. He's the authoritarian, the father figure of the solar system.
okay.
And so he's got this authoritarian kind of personality. But it's because he's sitting in Scorpio. Scorpio is all about the underworld, things hidden, our deepest emotions, our deepest thoughts, our deepest secrets, the things that we even hide from ourselves.
Ah, okay. That's good to know.
Have you noticed that Saturn went into Scorpio, which was on October 6th? You've done your new show, and you've got a whole lot of new callers.
Was it, you mean when I started taking my channel, or the interview one?
The channel.
Yeah.
Your callers are up. That's because people at this Saturn in Scorpio is driving the train of us wanting to go deep inside ourselves.
Ooh, I like how you said that.
It's not only the outside, the outer world, but it's also the inner world. It's not only shifting the outer world, the society, the mass consciousness is also shifting our inner selves.
Amen.
And you got people going, what the heck is going on? And
Yep.
they're coming to you.
Yeah, and it's awakening. I know that I know that I have to stand more into my authority. I create those memes, and the one meme I end up creating was a picture of me about what Oprah Winfrey said, is that I used to be afraid of what people thought of me, or I can't remember how the meme was, but now, afraid of who do you think you are? Well, this is who I am, and I have to stand up and say, this is what I am. I feel like that's also part of the growth process for any soul, is because I was telling my husband, the most funniest thing is, or I heard someone say, the most scariest thing that occurs is knowing that your schoolmates that you knew so well are now running for government.
Yeah, are involved in politics now. All these people you went to school with that were the goofballs are now wanting to run things.
And that in a bit, that's scary.
But everything's changed over the years.
But when you hit a certain age, it's like now it's time for us to step up and choose how do we want our children, we've been running for that, trying to help for that, to make it a better place, but now it's standing up in an authoritarian position to some degree. And I know that a lot of us are moving to the ecosystem where we're working together. And, one hand helping the other instead of this hierarchy crap that seems to really... That's why I cannot understand Mitt Romney being able to be in the running when it sounded like if he got elected, we would actually go backwards. And I think it was a test for the consciousness. Not to say he was a bad person, it's just that some of the way that he was talking about women... And the woman energy, that feminine energy, has been coming on the planet. I think that we were asking ourselves, are we ready for it? And by having Obama win, it mainly said, yes, we're not willing to go backwards. We're willing to just, let's go further, let's go forward, and let's do this together, because the feminine energy is here and it is going to stay. And I'm not talking body parts, but talking about that frequency that is about working together. So when you look at the planets, do you see them as gender specific?
Well, some of it won't. Like, of course, Venus, the planet of love and all things that we love, you know, that typically is female. There aren't very many female. Some of the asteroids are female. I don't really know much about the asteroids. I'm just getting into learning about them, but they have a huge impact on us. Most of the planets that have male personalities, they're, you know, Mars, war. You know, you don't think of war and women in the same box. You think of men and war in the same box. Neptune, of course, you know, the god of the sea, you know, King Neptune.
That makes
A male
sense.
again. So, yeah, that's kind of how, I guess that's how they developed a gender. But, yeah, a light bulb just went off as you were talking about the election.
Yes.
You're probably familiar with David Hawkins' Power versus Force.
Yes, yes.
And, you know, he talks about vibrating at different frequencies. You know, he has his own logarithmic scale. And we all know that the frequency, well, maybe we all don't know, but love, the frequency of love vibrates at the frequency of 528 hertz.
Ooh.
It's in that 500 range, which
Right.
he says he corresponds to the fifth dimension. Tie that in with 2012, 1221, you know, the end of the Mayan calendar, the shift of consciousness. The election seems to me to be a mirror of this shift that we're in, that we as a planet, as a species, as creature on the planet, shifting from third dimension to fifth dimension.
Yeah.
We don't want to go back.
No.
Also, this communication problem that's happening, and all the ego that's coming out, is also representative of the struggle we have making changes.
Right.
Nobody likes to make changes, so we're fighting it. And then here we have all these planets and stuff that are helping us to, they're almost forcing us to deal with our egos, to deal with our inner selves, so that we can make the shift.
True. True. Okay, honey, I'm going to take a small little break. We'll be right back, okay?
All right.
Thanks. I have a metaphysical store here. And on my shelf is Power versus Force, and what she was referring to was David Hawkins' book, and the hidden detriments of the human behavior. And there's a map of consciousness, which is very, really, like she said, they're the algorithms. And I was doing an energy test. Now, you have to remember, every place on this planet has different chakras, meridians, and points in different conscious states. I'm asking about the group consciousness that we're leaving and moving into. So as I say, what are we leaving from? And we're leaving from the state of what they call the level of desire, which is about 125, and it's referred to as denying, disappointing, craving, enslavement. And we are moving into, and which is here, happens to be anger. And this is one of the things that they're asking us really to heal, because we can be all over the place. Anger has vengeful, antagonistic, hate, and aggression. I have seen more people be individual, which is great, voicing the truth, which really is their truth as they know it, but as they're expressing that truth, they say it comes from a greater truth, which is one big truth. But when they talk about it, they're talking about it through anger, hate, aggression, and trying to force it, change it, be judgmental. And that is not the space that's from the heart. It's not your true aspect of being that spiritual person. And it literally is still the over-identification of being just human. But people do not like to hear that because all they hear is blame. When people fall into that state, that means that they are their thoughts, their experiences, they're nothing more than just being overly human. Now, as Karen, or Octarine, as you know her as, we're talking, and love, like she said, was falling in the 500s. We will get there. This is from the God view is loving, from the life view is benign, the level is love, the log is in the 500, the emotion is reverence, and the process is revelations. Now, when you are individually going this, you can have your own personal space of where you are. Will you be that for the rest of your life? Some people hear me say, oh, you're this. Oh my God, I'm like this for all my life, for the rest of my life? No. If you are on the evolution of how your soul is evolving, you can actually find out what space you're in, which makes perfect sense. And for me, I happen to be in this reason state, what they call level, and it's wise, meaningful, understanding, and abstraction, which means there's a part of me that's in changing it, and that's part of where my soul is at. So does this make sense to you? When you looked at it, Karen, did you find what you were or felt like you were at?
Yeah, I was in a group with a man in my area for a couple of years who has studied all this, and he says that the planet's actually shifted. The planet's already above 500. The majority of people on the planet are still below 300.
Exactly.
But there's, in the United States, believe it or not, I think the percentage now is something like around 40% of the population has shifted, 35 to 40% of the population has shifted to 400 or better.
That's excellent. That's
now
excellent.
the world as a whole is still, way down there, especially the undeveloped world.
Yes.
Is way down there. But again, I see the election as a mirror of anger versus reason.
Yes. We are really literally mirroring where are we at on our group consciousness. And we have to remember the rings that we put out. The innermost ring is us, then we have the next ring out, which is how we're observing it, and then every time we heal and stop knowing it, which means we file away all the over exaggeration of knowing it, the negative emotions that are tied to your knowing. When the negative emotions disappear, the information gets filed away, and so then you start to grow with that soul, and moving from the baby stage, which knows it all, to the student thinking, there's more to learn, to the teacher is, there's more to learn, but I need to teach, and moving forward. So our soul is really growing greatly, but we get caught up and think, oh my God, this is, all or nothing, and that's not true. It's different spaces, like you said. All over the planet is someplace different. The reflection of this election was many rings out from us, but it was definitely showing where we are. Each person took their personal definitions and viewed what was happening, and the question that came up from what I could see was to the universe, to us, was, do you want to repeat history, go back in time? And when he would say, women, we're going to do this and this and this to women, and yet we have women still voting for him, you're thinking, what's going on? I was talking to my husband and Jen yesterday about it, And you said it has nothing to do about, or Jen said it had nothing to do about, it was about the economy. It wasn't about specific issues. It was based on the economy.
Basically the whole thing was, I think, more of the economy.
It's also about a lot of people. I have a close friend, a gay gentleman, known for years and years and years, voted for Romney because his eternal salvation was more important than, same-sex marriage.
That would make sense, yes, because we're based on those rules and regulations about being accepted or rejected. It's all of that stuff. We want to make sure if a side, because what came up was also who you're going to pick out of the lesser of two evils. And it was like there was never a third option, which is another huge thing that we're doing on the planet, is we're realizing that there's not just left and right. There's not just good and bad. There is a third option, and that is coming to the awakening of how we can actually choose differently. I was watching something TV. I don't watch TV, but I turned it on today, and there was something called, The Talk, which is similar to The View, with all these women sitting around the table. And I love Ozzy Osbourne's wife. Sharon. And she's, so she's sitting there. I think she's the moderator or whatever that's sitting at the table. And the question that came up was Miley Cyrus. She's going to have 3 weddings. She's going to have her wedding, and then she's marrying a guy that lives in Australia, so she's going to go out to Australia and have a wedding there. And then she's going to go to where they live, which is, I can't remember if it was New York or whatever, and have a wedding there. So they wanted one back home for her family, one for his family, and one for all their friends. And as the question was being posed, I'm looking at our Carney Wilson, and her face was immediately going to, oh, that's just stupid and ridiculous type look, which was going to indicate that that's wrong. And when Sharon opened her mouth, she says, "That's wonderful." I can't remember the exact words. She says, "I respect when somebody wants to do it the way they want it." And that's good that she's able to do it the way she wants it. And, pretty much there is no argument. And then everybody else was talking, and Carney's face just changed to going, "Oh, I never thought of that." Or, "I got to quickly jump on the bandwagon because not everybody's going to agree with what I'm saying, so now I've got to agree with what other people are saying." And I'm thinking, why is it that I was on here to watch this? And it was called, this woman that came on, I can't remember her name, it's so new, but the book's called Snap. And it's those snap decisions. And now I understand, because she said there's 10,000 cues, physical gesture cues that we create within just a snap of your fingers, before you actually snap your fingers. And so that first impression is huge. The energy that's broadcasted from us, but is it accurate and correct? And what I've learned is that, yes, we have all those cues, but it isn't accurate and correct because, one, inside of you, your inner world is being shown through your gestures. But if I'm going to look at you, am I going to see your truth? I'm going to look at what group conscious believes. That's what gestures look like. And then I'm going to look and do all my personal definitions of what this is. So these snap decisions that we do. So when they were up on stage, the president and Mitt were up on stage, they had to watch their cues. And I know that they're told to behave a certain way, because if your hands are open, that means that you're going to be more receiving. If your eyebrows are lifted just enough, you're more receiving and open. Whereas when you put your hands together and you close your shoulders down, that means go away, I don't want anything. So you know that to some degree we're cued to believe that that's what they're going to do. Then there was the media itself that's just going to tailspin it the way they want people to vote. And I just feel that we're not able to actually think for ourselves, and that's exactly where we are, like you said, in the 400 degree. We are learning that we don't have to do mob mentality. We don't have to actually believe our gestures anymore. We don't have to go in those little spaces. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And we're learning to make...
90 seconds.
Oh, shoot. Show's almost over. But anyways, we're learning, like with your voice, I think that's very unique, the way you describe astrology and talking about the planets. And you create little scenarios with them. they make more sense. They feel like now they can be taught and heard, whereas before it was always supposed to be the mystery, and you're only supposed to go to the people that have a mystery and let them try to guide you. But the actual thing is I think the mystery is about over.
60 seconds.
With you and I being able to just talk about it, whether it's in person, to ourselves, or with anybody else, we're actually creating an education on the planet that actually means that enlightenment is here. Well, I gotta go, and I appreciate and love you, and we gotta do the outro. Okay, so we'll see you next time.
All right, Karen.
All right, bye, Karen.
Bye.